Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavinski's Tutorials. Today I'm going to do an overview of Unfiltered Audio Battalion. This is a really cool drum machine. It can really do a lot more than drums and percussion as well. So I haven't spent a huge amount of time with this, but I'm really impressed by what I've seen so far. It seems especially good for live tweaking. So in this video I'll go through the main controls of the UI. I'm not going to go through everything in detail, but it'll be enough to get a really good idea of the basics of how to use the app. Now as I flick through these presets, I'm not changing the BPM, like this is supposed to be at 124. But a lot of the time I'll just keep them slower. I think a lot of them sound good slow anyway. I like that. So, if you're buying this for desktop, by the way, and it just came out for iPad and iPhone, but if you're buying the desktop version and you'd like to support my work, you could buy it using the plugin boutique link in the pinned comment. I'd get a bit of commission. Thanks, guys. So, the first page here we've got, this is the knobs for the various voices. So at the moment we're seeing all the controls for voice 1, and I can also solo voice 1 if I want there. If I tap here, now I'm seeing all the controls for voice 2. So you can see we've got this synth section here, and so now we're viewing the synth engine for voice 1, and we can tap to move through those, or we can select them from this drop down, or we can use the arrows. And you'll see as we go through these that these knobs will change. And so I'm not going to go through all the different things that these knobs do. You'll find all that information in the manual, and most of it will be familiar to people who are used to various types of synthesis. Okay, I'm going to jump on to another preset. I'm going to just stick to more mellow ones, for the purposes of doing a walkthrough. So we can toggle things on and off here. So that's the synth engine for voice 1. We can just toggle that off. Here we can toggle the sampler on and off. The sampler, you've got arrows here. You've got little things to set the start and end points. And you can scroll through samples. You can press the random button to randomize samples. You've got here a little thing that you can use to set which envelope will be used on the sampler, envelope 1, envelope 2, or no envelope. And again, various controls here. Pitch, fine pitch, tilt, it's like an EQ thing, compression and gain. You've also got voice presets down here. So you can have presets for individual voices rather than just global presets for the entire 8 voices. Here, just a tone control. So this has various filter types as well as various distortion algorithms that you can use. So here you'd just be choosing a different type of distortion and dialing it in. So there's a lot of potential variety in the sound by choosing different distortion types. Okay, I just jump on to another preset. They're the presets are very diverse, so you get an idea that you can really do a lot with this. So you got a little modulation section here, and it's very easy to use. So we can dial in an amount of random modulation. So to assign that, it's just so simple. You just press this, and let's say I want to bring in a little bit of random modulation to the cutoff here in the tone section. I just dial in a certain depth here on that knob, and now I press this, and here it's going to randomly modulate it up to the value that I set when I drag that there. So you've got a few different options, like you can use the velocity of incoming notes to modulate things, or you can use macro buttons. You've got these two envelopes here, and so again, if you want to set those as modulation sources for something, it's exactly the same procedure. Couple of LFOs. This variation thing is really interesting. So this will just bring in a little bit of variation. And again, we're only affecting this voice. Here we can control the amount of delay and reverb coming from the sands. And we got panning and gain control. And you've got a maximizer here as well, by the way. So this is affecting all the voices now, this master section. EQ. And here you can set what happens when you go over 0 decibel. Do you have no clipping, or hard clipping, or soft clipping, or wave folding? And of course it's unfiltered audio, so you know the sound is really pristine. These guys know what they're doing. So the performance page, this is super cool. So here we're, first of all, check if these are enabled, you know, for different voices. And so here I'm increasing the attack. So again, you know, I could disable certain things, and that might work better, right? Like that sounds a lot better now. Attack, hold, decay, and the curve for the envelope. And you can flip the values if you want. So these knobs controlling the envelope. Here we've got knobs for the synth, like the synth, the pitch for the synth of all the voices. I do really wish that this text was easier to read. Don't know why they've made the contrast so low on those. It's absolutely bizarre design choice, especially because people who use iPad often turn the brightness down. I'll say as well, by the way, this makes my iPad very hot. I've had worse, but it's definitely hot. Okay, so you get the idea there, hopefully. We can globally adjust the tones of the voices. So distortion, cutoff, and that's just so handy to have that. I mean, you got so much control in this app. We can randomize these. And if we want, we can commit them. So commit will just, like whatever changes have been made by changing these knobs, whatever changes these have made to the voices section, if we press commit over there, those changes will become baked in and they will become the new values for those knobs. You can also reset everything here if you want. This depth is super handy. So if depth is at 100, then these have exactly the value that's dialed in here. But we can kind of scale that down by bringing this down towards 0. If we bring it all the way to 0, now these are not actually doing anything whatsoever. And if we bring it all the way down to -100, then all of these values are inverted. So this is going to be -5.2 instead of 5.2, for example. This is just so cool. And then we got this sequencer page. So let's see. Let's see what we're gonna select for this. This one might be quite nice to select. So you see here, the red dots show the actual triggering of the synth engine. And so we can, manually add in triggers or remove them just by tapping here. Okay. But we can also bring in some Euclidean sequencing. So if I say put this to 16 and put this to 4, it's going to distribute 4 beats as evenly as possible across 16 steps. So I can adjust this number of steps here for that and adjust the number. So, here we're just getting constant triggers. So if this pattern knob is set to 1, it's just doing a Euclidean sequence. If you change the value here, you're getting different things. I'm not exactly sure what those are. But they're not going to be Euclidean sequence. Then you can rotate these with the knob, moving them forward or backwards a step. And here we're viewing the velocity modulation per step. So you can set steps to trigger modulation changes. So we have all these different things here. So shift, pitch, ratchet. Now I could just use the dice here, maybe to randomize some things. So now we're going to start getting a bit of ratcheting, for example. Here adding in a little bit of variation and panning per step. Here adding in a bit of change in the variety knob setting per step. Right? Let me unsolo this, by the way. And so if I want to get rid of those extra steps, I just bring the fill knob down. Now, there are things, let's jump on to another preset. Some of these things I think are easier explained on the all page. Let's jump over to the all page. So you see, if I bring this shift knob for this voice 1, if I bring that down, you see how its playhead is now running earlier than the other ones. That does not sound good on this kick, but it might sound good on some of the other ones. So the shift will bring all the steps forward. Swing will only bring every other one forward. Alternate. And shape does this really interesting thing. It does this like gradual increase over time, where the playhead speeds up. And again, actually this kick is really not a good thing to do that on, but let's see if something else is. That sounds pretty cool. Doing it in that second voice there. So the amount of time over which that ramping will happen is set by the number of steps in this section here. So we've set it to 16, so that ramping up in speed will happen over the course of 16 steps. If I bring that down to, let's say 8, and go back to the all page here, just because you can see it on the all page. And now increase that shape. That is happening now over 8 beats. Here I'm doing it in voice 2. Okay, so you get the idea. You've also got a humanize knob here that applies to all the voices. Just make all their playheads a little bit off, or a lot off. You got a multiplier here, or divider. It's just really, really fantastic. Really fantastic. And then a mix page. So here we can, maybe it seems a little bit easier to see what's soloed and what's muted here. I sometimes get a little bit confused on the voices page with that. Yeah, you can just dial in, all the delay amounts and reverb amounts here, and just get a nice overview of everything. This is also very cool as well. You've got trigger groups and choke groups if you want. So a trigger group will work like this. If I choose, let's say 2 here, then now every time voice 1 triggers, voice 2 will also be forced to trigger. Choke's the opposite. If I choose 2 here, now every time voice 1 triggers, voice 2 will be silenced. You also have some control over routing in the DAW here. I don't know, does this I haven't even tried if this has multi-out, let's see. Not that that's related to the multi-out, that's more about like stereo and stuff. What am I doing? Let's see, here do we have multi-out? Yeah, it does have multi-out, by the way. Okay, that's great. So you could set it up that you have a whole bunch of these set up and apply different effects, like this would presumably be, well, it depends with multi-out. In some setups, let's just see how it is set up actually. Didn't get anything there, let's see. Multibus. Do I need to set something up in here for that? No idea. Has anybody used multi-out on this? I haven't yet. That's the first time I've looked at it. Don't know why there's no sound coming out of those. Do I need to? I must have to set it up with this. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is a little bit different. Yeah, normally on iOS plugins, this is just all kind of done automatically, but some developers choose to make it a bit more flexible / complicated. So yeah, this is in that latter category. So you're going to have to set up the routing here yourself. So if you set up multi-out, if you set things to this, they'll come out on the first instance, the main instance. If you set them to this, they'll come out on the second instance, i.e. the first multi-out instance. Okay, so that's the way that is. All right. So here then we got a section for the effects. So there's this delay, which I think is set up in a way that you won't get pitch changes when you change the time. Yeah, it's some kind of granular setup. So you see how you're not getting any pitch changes there? Cool. It has this little glitch setting as well to just bring in a little bit of variation in the timing. And you got stuff like ducking controls, and this tilt is a tilt EQ for the feedback. And here, reverb section with a few different options there. So I'll leave it at that, everyone. It really seems very, very useful. Oh, one thing I did want to mention was I found, let's see if we go to velocity. I noticed that you can't double tap to reset here. And when we have a lot of these, like let me set this to 64. Oh no, that's not for that one. Well, I noticed when we have a lot of these, I found it quite difficult sometimes to get them back to 0. I just kind of wish you could double tap to reset. I guess it's just an oversight and that will be added. But what a cool instrument. It is really absolutely beautiful and just amazing for live performance. So, hope you enjoyed this, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Cheers.